Well, basically, to start a futsal team, for myself, you need to get a good goalkeeper. Good goalkeeper for me in futsal is half of your team. If you have a good goalkeeper, at least a draw you get. You know, you don't want to lose the game. Then secondly, what I need to do is just like football. The good thing about futsal is like, let's say if you're a kid and you go to play futsal, even if you are adult and you go to play futsal, you're gonna touch the ball much more than you touch on 11 aside. Sometimes like you touch the ball 10 times more because the short space. And what fascinates me about the sport is like you need to be clever, you need to quick think. You can't rest too much of the ball because another player gonna come and get near the ball. So force you to think quick, to anticipate what is gonna happen. But a basic tip for you, just pass and move, run into the empty space. And that's what futsal is about, like you can't pass and stand like football most of the time. You need to pass and run to the empty space, get the ball and try to anticipate what's going to happen.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue the theme of interviews and we have the captain of England national futsal team. For a change, we are not having someone from the football community but from the futsal community. We have Mr. Raoni Medina with us. So without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Raoni for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing these days?
Well, thanks so much. First, it's a pleasure to be with you guys and speak a little bit more about futsal. And ready to go to share my experience and my trajectory with you guys.
So definitely. So I'll talk about futsal. Like futsal is something which has not been properly explored over here in Nepal itself also. I don't know how it is in UK. So I'll ask you this, like basic question that came up to me when I was preparing the list of questions. Like, did you always plan to have a career in futsal or you wanted to primarily get into football and then you came to futsal?
Okay, so I don't know if you read about it, but I born in Brazil. So I left Brazil was at the age of 17. So in Brazil, it's very typical you to play futsal before you play football. Okay, so that's why I find all the skillful players like Neymar, Ronaldinho, all these kind of players. So basically, over there in Brazil, the kids play futsal, play on street football and futsal before they jump to 11-a-side. That was with me as well. So we always dreamed to be playing football somehow, futsal, football. But in Brazil, because up to 17, 18 years old, you play both sports. So you always have an option, Maybe sometimes the football will pick you or sometimes futsal will pick you up. So most of the Brazilian players there with Brazilian kids, they are open to play any sports. Obviously, if they can choose, they will choose football for the financial side of it because you make much more money, let's be honest, in football than futsal. However, futsal is a great sport and it's easy to be played, and it's, for me, I enjoy more playing futsal than football. But that was what happened. So basically, I started to play football and futsal, and I played football up to 24 years old. When I turned 24, I gave up football and I went back to futsal. So I'd be able to play both sports. They're completely different sports. But that's the good thing about it. You grow up like playing both sports. So you can choose, It's not something like you play only football and you say, oh, what am I going to do now? I'm going to play, basketball or handball. But that's the good thing about futsal. So it's similar, even being a different sport.
So definitely, I think you made a very good choice. And talking of Brazil, I know one guy only. Literally, I know one person in futsal, that is Falcao.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's amazing. He's amazing. His goals are amazing.
Yeah.
Talking of futsal, like how is the infrastructure in UK?
Basically, the first national league in here started back in 2008, 2008. That was the first. So it's a very baby sport in here. If you compare to Spain, like they are over 40 years ahead of us, like 30 years ahead of us. Italy starts like 20 years, Portugal 20 years. So all these nations who reigns in Europe on these days, they are miles ahead of us in terms of infrastructure, the exposure of the game, into the kids and to the society itself. However, in the last 3-4 years, the FA put a lot of effort on it. I think because they see like Germany growing up now. Germany's invested a lot of money on futsal. Bundesliga apparently will take the futsal league, so Bundesliga will put money itself. French National Associations put a lot of money on the league. Ricardinho is going to play there now. So the FA, our FA, so they feel quite forced to push it forward as well. So it's been a lot of like engagement from the kids, like football academies, because finally people are discovering the power of the sport, not only to play futsal itself, but how helpful futsal is for like development of football player as well, so basically from this next year, football will be on the schools as PE sports, so kids will start to get to know the sport really early age, and especially in the UK, if we're not blessed by the weather, as you can know. It's a such amazing sport. You play inside, you don't get dirty, you don't get cold, don't get wet, and it's really attractive for any kind of nation.
So talking of sports, and for a sportsman, one major factor is finance involved with it. How is the finances in futsal? We know that football, the finances are a lot. Players are getting paid a lot. How is the finances in futsal?
Futsal is very similar to like handball, basketball, obviously not talking to NBA, not talking like to professional leagues like Spain and stuff. You can survive from it if you play professionally. Obviously, you can't save a lot of money, so you need to prepare yourself for other areas. Some majority of players in futsal in UK, especially the semi-pro, or even amateur teams as well. So they have their daily jobs, and train in the evening, play on the weekends and that kind of stuff. But outside UK, if you go to professional leagues, you can survive with good money, decent money. Like it's well for you to survive, not for you to be like nothing compared to football at all, but you can survive from it easily.
So you have a lot of players, from a young age going into football academies and other stuff. Like you said, it's better to play both sport, and maybe wherever you have maybe wherever you're lucky, you get into that. So how is it in UK, compared to maybe Brazil? Do people actually get into playing into futsal, or is it like they'll play football for a while, and if they do not make it, they drop down?
It's starting now. Like for like as I said to you before, I started 2 years ago. So FA started to work in like Premiership academy coach. So they are going to get the futsal qualifications. So it's starting slowly. Start quite late, to be fair, but 2 years ago. But now, like every single football coach in this country, they know about futsal. They are looking for the futsal qualifications to apply that to the football academies. So football academies players now, most of the academies, even including Premiership clubs, they train like once or twice futsal during the week. So it's a great thing as well. So and again, we can't see that in a short term, but in the medium long term, all these players who experience futsal now, if they don't become a football players, they're always going to have an option to play futsal the same way as I did. So I used to play, as I said to you before, both sports, and then at the age of 18 I decided to go on football. So I came to Sport Lisbon and I went to Iran. Then I came to England, so I played semi-pro in here, and then I became a dad, and then I couldn't commit anymore. So then I said, like, okay, so I still have futsal. Futsal was starting the league, was much more convenient for me, and I joined in, and I went back to my roots.
So definitely that's worked out for you. And talking of futsal league, you are currently the champions of the National Futsal League with London Helvecia Futsal Club. Like you said, it's a very, like baby league compared to other nations. What is the quality of the league?
In here, it's if you compare 10 years ago, as you know, I played every single league since it started. I got sometimes I start to think about it. Go back in time, the first one was like much more quality in terms of players because there were a lot of foreigners playing around, and but was more like unprofessional things. It was more reliable in the quality of the player. It's not in the strategy, tactical side. Physicality wasn't there. It was just the quality itself. Which if you don't come from a professional background, or if you come to watch without any knowledge of the sport, you're kind of gonna like it because you see skillful players, but they don't run back to mark, and wasn't really professional. But over the years, the exposure the game had in the country, like since let's say 3-4 years ago, like tactically with foreign coaches coming in, we have Portuguese coaches, Spanish coaches in the league, Brazilian coaches. So with all that kind of thing and exposure of the game, the tactical side, physicality, and even the technical side increased a lot. And the level is quite decent, to be fair. It's not to be a top league in Europe, but we can see that it's improving. In the good side of it, so many young players. So you're talking about 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old players who's already played the sport for like 2-3 years of their lives. And when they get their peak, physical peak, when it's 25, 26, they're going to have like almost 10 years on their legs playing the sport. So that's a good hope we have for the national team and obviously for the league itself.
So this is a very foolish question from me, but I just wanted to know. I don't know much about futsal, so how long is your season? Is it like a Premier League stretched out for 12, 8, 10 months or something, or is it a shorter version?
Well, we are run by FIFA, as you know, so we are the same federation. So UEFA run us as well. So we are in the European country. So UEFA, we are under UEFA. So the season is similar, very similar to the football. So transfer window is the same because it's UEFA, FIFA rules. And the season depends on the country. So let's say in Spain, it's very similar to the football season because they are professional league and stuff. We are here, we are kind of semi-pro league in the UK. So the league is a little bit shorter because we don't have that. We have only 10 teams now on the top tier in the first division, plus 10 on the second tier. But as I said to you before, the organization of the league is getting much better. So we get like every weekend. Last season was like a lot of people come to watch the game. The game is being streamed, like being released during the week with highlights. So that all is like preparing a product to sell. And I believe with all these young players, young generation, the exposure the sports having in here now, very in a short space of time, the league will give a boon and the sport itself will grow here even more.
So like you said, like in England, it's quite shorter compared to like maybe Spain. So just again, a very foolish question. Like, can you, after you finish your season in England, maybe can go to Spain and play for a team? Can it happen like that? Does it happen?
Depends. If it's inside the transfer window, 31st of January, it's the same as a football. So when the football window opens, futsal windows open for transaction, and also it's exactly the same as football. You can have one transaction during a transfer window. So if I'm playing in here, I cannot go to Spain after 31st of January. It's the same as football. So basically, if I want to make a move, I can start the league in here, and I get signed for a Spanish team. I need to be signed before 31st of January. Sorry. So it's the same. It's the same thing. Like as I said to you before, like UEFA is pushing it, FIFA is trying to push it as well, and it will grow. As much as women's football is growing now, futsal is the next on the list because it has all the potential to be a great sport and generate a lot of attention.
Definitely. Like what I thought was what I was of the consideration was that it is like cricket. Like in the cricket, how you have like someone plays like Indian Premier League, then goes to play Australian Big Bash, then goes to play Caribbean. I thought it was like that, but now maybe I learned.
No, it's exactly like football. The rules is exactly the same. Like you can now have 2 transfers. You can make one move during the season. You got to respect the windows, transfer windows. It's exactly as football, so it doesn't change much.
So, moving on from that, to your personal self, growing up, whom did you have as inspiration, as a player?
Well, I grew up, as I said to you before, I grew up in Brazil. Obviously, I had some Brazilian players, Argentina players at the time, because at that time Argentina had a very good team as well. And I born in the south of Brazil, was quite close to Argentina, so and I always play as a pivot, which is a strike on football, number 9. So I had like Batistuta when I was growing up, Romario and Ronaldo. They're the far one. So the 3 was my main players at the time
And
that I was looking at.
yeah,
And as
moving.
a futsal, I didn't have any
Okay, so
until
moving.
my late age.
Okay, moving to futsal. Whom do you consider as the best player, of all time, maybe in futsal, except Falcao?
They have in Brazil. They have so many good players, like legends of the game. When I remember when I'm on my 15th, when the game was really exploding there as well. So I remember seeing like a fantastic generation of players. Obviously, I always try to see the players that play on the same position as me, which is a very specific position on the pitch. As a pivot, we always play the back to the goal we're attacking. So we need to set up, we need to turn to finish. We close to the other goal, but normally we're facing, our own goal because we play the backside. Yeah, and I had a few players that I watched. There was like Kaiser Fernandão, who used to play for Spain. He's a Brazilian, but he born in Brazil, but he also played for Spain. Betão, which was another pivot, Brazilian pivot. He plays for Brazil national team. That was the 2 players that I grew up watching them and trying to copy them with movement and stuff. And today we have the best player in the world is Ferran, played for FC Barcelona. He's a pivot, the same position as me, and I watch his videos and try to learn from him.
So, even we have a futsal team here, okay, and we play in the weekends. So, what advice would you give me, like a formation or something which I can implement in my next game?
Well, basically, to start a futsal team, for myself, you need to get a good goalkeeper. Good goalkeeper for me in futsal is half of your team. If you have a good goalkeeper, at least a draw you get. You're not gonna lose the game. Then secondly, what I need to do is just like football. The good thing about futsal is like, let's say if you're a kid and you go to play futsal, even if you adult and you go to play futsal, you're gonna touch the ball much more than you touch on an 11 side. Sometimes like you touch the ball 10 times more because the short space. And what fascinates me about the sports, like you need to be clever, you need to quick think. You can't rest too much of the ball because another player gonna come and get near the ball. So force you to think quick, to anticipate what is gonna happen. But basic tip for you: just pass and move, run into the empty space, and that's what futsal is about. Like you can't pass and stand like football most of the time. You need to pass and run to the empty space, get the ball, and try to anticipate what's gonna happen.
So, moving on, like England as a nation have not participated or qualified for any major tournament, maybe even in European or world stage. Like, do you see that changing maybe in 10 years, or will it take much more longer time?
100%. As I said to you before, imagine the national league, the national team started. They created the first game was 2004, 2005, if I'm not wrong. It wasn't even a national league in here. The league started in 2008. So we're talking about, let's see, if we say from the league where you get your players is from the national leagues. So we have 12 years of the league itself, which in the first few years wasn't well organized. Okay, so from that moving where we already is on these days is quite it's not impressive, but it's good enough. And as I said to you before about these players who is already on the league today, which is much better organized and got much more exposure to the game, and we already have like 17, 18, 19, 20 years old players of these days. I see a bright future in the UK, and especially for the English team in 10 years time, 10 years time, medium term. When all these players get experience and playing the game for more than 5 years, 6 years, we 100%. A couple of years ago, the under 19 team, our under 19, went to the European Championship in Croatia, and they finished second on the group. So they beat Italy 1-0. You know, they just lost to Croatia, the hosts, but they finished second in the group with Italy and Portugal, I think. So we have a very good young generation come through, and that's what I hope out.
So, you know, like, yeah, of course, that is very a good thing, and hopefully it happens. And you know, like, as a player, if you had to give advice to a young futsal player how to get his skills develop or how to hone his skills, what advice would you give him or her?
It's a good question. I say I have a 13 years old son, and I'm quite tough. Okay, so I'm a captain, and my personality is to push. You know, I do that myself. You know, so I train. I still, even on the lockdown, I keep myself training 6 days a week, even if I don't want it. You know, it's to keep myself fit and ready to whatever competitions come back. I'm on my best as much as I can. And my son, he's a right foot. I'm a left foot. But what he didn't know is I could not touch the ball with my right foot when I was even younger than him, 5 years old. So I was left foot only. We used to say back in time in Brazil, where like I could not use my right leg even to step in a bus, you know, for you to see how bad I was with my right leg. But I started to work on my right leg on daily basis. I was on my house. I was going to my garden at the back. I get the ball and hit the ball against the wall to work on my weakness. So basically, my weakness was my right foot, which on these days, with more than 500 goals and being like golden boots in England 5 times, and right now I'm the top scorer of the England team. Even joined the national team at the age of 34 when I joined them. I score more goals than anyone there who was in the current squad. My right leg, my right foot is as good as my left, and I score more goals with my right foot over my career than with my good foot is my left. And people, when I'm playing, they don't know which foot I am because I'm good on both. So my advice, after saying that, is to work on a weakness. If you're not good on your left foot, work on your left foot. You know, but constantly be on it, work on it. If you're not good on, let's say, on dribbling, work on your dribbling. If you don't work on passing, work on your passing, work on your shooting, and then you're gonna move on. So okay, my shoot's good now. Then I need to work on my left foot. Go and work on your left foot. You know, I need to defend. How can I defend properly? You know, and the good thing about this generation we have, which unfortunately is not mine anymore, not for no long, is they have YouTube. You know, so you can watch videos so easily on these days. What back in time was just you need to see someone, ask someone to teach you, you know, and then you're gonna try to do something. Or today you don't need anyone, basically. Just go to YouTube, and you know, and so many videos there. Obviously, you need to find a good person to follow with knowledge and experience. But once you find it, you're sorted. You know, it's much more easy for you to become a better player and to reach your goals on these days than it was back in time.
So definitely. So, you know, like, of course, you are doing a lot of other courses right now with La Liga and all. But after you hang up your boots, do you plan to get into coaching, maybe of futsal?
I don't have patience for coaching, you know, because I give up so much thing, and my mindset is to win at all costs. You know, like obviously you need to respect the opponents and being fair and stuff. But I'm a winning motivation person. You know, like I want to win, you know, and my life, my career shows it, you know, like I have 15 national titles in here. I'm the one who won more leagues and more titles in the whole UK, because I'm motivated for it. I could leave to play for another team who could give me more money or whatever, but it's going to be mid of table. I don't want it, you know, and I believe I believe I know myself. If I coach one day and I see someone is not giving their 100%, I don't mind if they do it right or they do it wrong. Obviously, I want them to do things I say, or I want them to do right. But when I see lack of commitment or not interest in that, really hurts me, and I could not stand to it. You know, at least the same passion as me, I would love. And I know that's quite hard to have have like 14 players on your squad with the same passion as you or the same interest is really difficult. So I see myself more as a vaccine to prepare signing players. I love that environment to prepare the show, and obviously if I can help with my experience on court, I would, but it's not on my side to become a coach. I really don't have patience for that now. So I'm quite perfectionist. So I prefer to be outside preparing things. It's easier to be perfect or kind of perfect, the scenario and the club than the team.
So yeah, of course, that's a personal choice again. So I'll give you two players, okay, and you need to say me who would suit better into futsal. They are of football origin. Who would suit better into futsal?
Yeah.
Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi.
But
100%
why?
Messi. The way they play, Ronaldo is more physicality, runs, and if you see Messi, he actually played futsal on his age years in Argentina. He grew up playing futsal as well and football in the street. If you see the way, let's say, simple fact, you can watch Messi plays. He runs with the ball really close to his feet, which in futsal is needed. And Ronaldo is in more pace. He touch the ball up front and just run. So we don't have much space. In futsal, we play 20 by 40. So for the simple fact, Messi on these days would switch much. Both of them play futsal, by the way, but on their characteristics today, Messi will fit much easier.
So the next pair is Brazilian Ronaldo or Neymar.
Neymar, for the same fact, both of them played. I don't know if you're aware about, but Ronaldo is Valladolid. He bought Valladolid, a La Liga club. And I heard it from the sports director because I'm doing the course in La Liga, and he was one of the guests. And I heard from him first time before it was announced in the media that Ronaldo implement futsal in Valladolid on the academy system. So he's gonna build a 2 sports hall over there for all academy players to play futsal as well alongside football. So it's a great thing, because both he knows he grew up, and if you see his interviews, he just says like, if it wasn't for the futsal, I would not be the player I was in football. I was in football. So he gave the praise to futsal for his qualities and his career.
So we'll move to the midfielders, Xavi or Iniesta.
Wow. Nice is a good question. Both of them very similar, and both of them would fit easily on futsal. But I would say Xavi for the same situation I told about Ronaldo and Messi. Even if Iniesta is very close to Xavi, it's completely different than Ronaldo, but Xavi keeps the ball to him closer than Iniesta.
So we'll move to the English shore, and quite debated. Many managers could not figure it out. Hopefully you can. Frank Lampard or Steven Gerrard?
Lampard. Lampard's more brain. Gerrard was brain as well. He was a very intelligent player as well, but also he needed more pace. He runs more over the ball. Everyone who runs much with pace and like put the ball forward in futsal, football is more about this. You need to move a lot. It's true. It's very, very tiring sports, but it's like basketball. You can get in and out, so you can give the best of you in 3-4 minutes and go down, sit down for a couple of minutes, get water, and then you go back again. So that's a good thing about futsal, And Lampard, he was more controlling the game and thinking more than using his space. So I would go for Lampard.
And since you said like goalkeepers are very important in a team in futsal, out of the present crop of players, whom would you take? Which goalkeeper would you take?
On these days?
Yeah.
Futsal goalkeeper?
No, a football goalkeeper who can replicate.
Football. Ter Stegen. All his movements come from futsal.
But people say Ederson is kind of the best with his feet. What do you think?
That comes from futsal. Futsal, the goalkeepers use their feet all since the sport started. In football, they started now, 10 years ago, they started with this goalkeeper need to touch balls with their feet. But futsal was needed since the sport was created. Even the movements when you go down to the floor, just compare the way, for example, Ter Stegen or De Gea, the way they go. So they are compared. They are claimed to be one of the best goalkeepers in the world right now, or the top 5, both of them. And just watch the way they go to the floor. And then if you go back to Buffon, who is 42 years old these days, and he didn't have any contact with the futsal, and just watch how he faced a 1v1. You compare Ter Stegen, for example, all that movements and comes from futsal. And Ter Stegen for me today would be a great futsal goalkeeper.
So like on that note, Raoni, I'll ask you one final question, okay? And
yeah,
if you had to choose one moment from your illustrious career of a futsal player, which is the most standout moment, which one would that be?
One player that played with me, or
one moment from your career?
Oh, one moment. Okay, so there's so many moments, important moments in my career. But for me, it was the first home nations I won with England, because for me it was a dream come through. Since I arrived in this country, I always dreamed to play for England, and the process of my naturalization was quite hard. I went to America to play soccer indoor as well. In the meantime, and I need to come back to apply for my passport, otherwise I could not play for England. I gave up America to come back to get my passport. And after 1 year playing for the national team, I was invited to be the captain. And on my second year as a captain, we won the first trophy of English history, which was the Home Nations, the tournament you play in UK. And for me, the time when I left that cup, we beat Scotland 3-1 in the final. I scored 2 goals. And when I lift that cup, for me, it was an amazing moment and a very proud moment for me. I'm going to take forever.
So, like on that note, Raoni, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best for your future, and hope you can take England to new heights and maybe even qualify for the World Cup and maybe even win it. You have already conquered the English shores, now you can conquer other shores. So thank you so much, stay safe, and hope to talk to you soon. Take care, bye.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Say thank you for my Nepalese friends and for you, and keep doing the work you're doing. And if you need anything, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.